This is the last sunset I'll see in the U.S. for a couple months. Tomorrow's my departure day. I'm heading out. I'm going to cross the Gulf Stream, go over to North Bimini Island. So I've got all the tanks stocked up, fuel's ready to go, water's set, got a ton of food. And I'm here at the southern part of Key Biscayne. And so that is a little more, if the Bimini Island is here, Key Biscayne is going to be a little bit further south. So I'll be able to jet across using the Gulf Stream a little bit more on my side tomorrow. So this is it. I've come a long way for this picture right here. Let's go to the Bahamas. All right, just under 6 o'clock here and about ready to go. I've made my coffee. It's over in the French press. Got a yogurt and an egg, and we're gonna go ahead and do it today. We're leaving. This is the beginning of the Bahamas trip. My custom-made quarantine flag, $1 at Walmart. What I'll do is I'll put the halyard. I'll punch a hole through there, put a halyard in there, and then run a retrieval string to this one, and then just hoist it up the mast. All right, it's about 1 o'clock, 1:15, and I'm about 7 hours into it, a little over. It's been the worst 7 hours of sailing so far. I've had about 4 or 5 foot seas, the first 10 miles offshore, and then it calmed down a little bit. I went through 2 major squalls that were just dumping rain on me. I mean, I was completely soaked to the bone. The autopilot was completely out of wonk. It was not working. I would set it on one course and it would start to deviate, and then it would realize it's deviating, and instead of correcting back, it would correct the other way. So I would be doing 90-degree turns. So I had like the worst morning so far. Figured out with the autopilot, what the issue was is I have a big speaker that I had sitting right on top of where the autopilot compass is, and that speaker was causing a magnetic error with the internal compass. So I moved the speaker, and right away this thing jumps right into line and has been holding me. This is the first 10 minutes I've sat away from the helm in the last 7 hours. So it was a really, really crappy morning. I still have at least another 7-8 hours to go. I'm not halfway through, but I have both sails up right now. Got the engine going, and I'm scooting along against the wind, I guess kind of perpendicular to the current, and I'm hitting the waves pretty hard. We're doing about 3.5, 4 knots. So going slow, but we are picking up a little bit of momentum here. So I'll hope to check in with you guys here later this afternoon. I doubt I will be anchored before it's dark out tonight. All right, it's about 9 hours into the crossing, and I'm just about halfway right now, which means I'm really behind schedule. I'm going really slow. I'm doing 3 miles an hour right now, and that's because I put in the front sail, because there are 2 squalls or little rain showers out there. There's one off to the left and then one to the right, and maybe a little bit more behind the guy on the right. So right now I'm trying to outrun a storm, but I think I'm going to get wet here pretty soon. Some of the nastiest sailing I've done on this trip so far. I'm really regretting crossing today. This is a poor choice, bad decision. I thought my research was better. There was a whole convoy of us too. There was probably 7 or 8 boats that headed out this morning. All of them way faster than I am, probably there by now, and I am just stuck moving 2 miles an hour in the middle of the Gulf Stream. Wind's coming out of the northeast now. It's shifted northern instead of southern, and I'm just getting thrown around out here. It's about 5:30 here, coming up on 11 hours. Rain started again. At least I've got a rainbow out there. There's a freighter out there, probably 5 miles in closing. I don't know if you can see his lights or not, but he's heading that way. He's southbound, I'm eastbound. Just wait until I get a little bit closer to call him on the radio. Okay, it's 8:15. I am just over the 14-hour mark, so I had originally thought this trip would take 11 to 14 hours, and now I'm just stretching over 14 hours now. Just hit mile marker 40, and I have 16.7 miles to go to anchor on the west side, or the Gulf Stream side of Cat Key there. And so it says I've got another like 6 or 7 hours, but I have both sails up, the engine's off, so that's good. You know, as long as there's not too much more traffic and the waves are pretty much relatively the same, I should be able to make it through without too much trouble. This has definitely been by far the worst passage or worst sailing day. Just everything went wrong. The wind was coming from the east, and it was supposed to die off and come out of the south, trickle down, come out of the south. None of that happened. It picked up and moved more northeasterly, which made the rollers, which were already coming from the north, the waves, they got even worse, 5-6 footers. And then of course you can always count on that 2.5 knots pushing north through the Gulf Stream there, which I've really had to just kind of tender back and forth with the, you know, the bow here of the boat, angling which way I'm going, because in the middle it's really fast, in the middle of the Gulf Stream it's really fast, on the outside it's not as much. So my GPS map is like a big zigzag, and right now I'm kind of getting thrown around a little bit, but it's been a scary night. It's been a really long day, so it's gonna be looking like 20-21 hours in total, which is just way too long for a 55-mile run. That means I'm averaging like 1.8 to 2.1 knots, which is just, that's unbearably slow. So I'm gutting and grueling through this, and hopefully I'll be there by sunlight. Alright, it's about 11 o'clock here. Hopefully have another 2, maybe, well no, probably about 3, maybe 4 more hours until I'm anchored down. About 8 or 9 miles outside west of Cat Key here. And current's still going strong. This Gulf Stream, you just cannot fight it. I've been averaging about 1.7, 1.8 knots. Got the engine on now. The wind's picked up a little bit, so I had to pull in the front sail. Have the mainsail up right now, and just cruising, pushing through. There's been a ton of traffic out. There is seen 2 or 3 other pleasure crafts, just big yachts, and then there have been a ton of cruise ships and freighters. They're just back and forth. Nobody's really gotten too close. I haven't had to call anyone on the radio, but it's pretty scary to see just these giants emerge from the darkness out there, just either a red or a green light, depending on which way way they're going, and then they've got a stern light on. So We're out here, still pushing it. Be there soon. Can you see the Bahamas? Yeah, me neither. It's totally dark out there. I can start to see some distant lights in the background. It's about 8.5, 9 miles out. I know there's not much, but one, maybe two marinas on Cat Key there. So I'm not expecting much. I'm anchoring out tonight. Got my quarantine flag all set and ready. I'm gonna hoist that up, and then tomorrow morning, bright and early, I'll go in and clear customs. So I'm looking at another 3 hours, about 3:15, 3:30 when I'm supposed to get in. I'm exhausted. It's been 18 hours so far. It's just been a heck of a trip. This was just I did all the planning and research I could, but everything hit the fan here. Everything went wrong. The winds didn't do what they were supposed to do. The waves weren't as light and as small as I thought they would be. And that Gulf Stream, it fought more than I thought it would fight. So I battled it the long way here, and I never thought it would take me 21, 22 hours to go 50 miles, 55 miles. That's ridiculous. So you just call me the slow boat. I'll be bringing up the rear, but I'm almost to the Bahamas, guys. I've almost made it. I'm about a mile out. I am so pumped. I can see all the lights at the marina. I'm going to be staying at an anchorage on the west side, and I'm so close. Come so far to get here, and now I can say I've sailed solo from Ohio to the Bahamas, and geez, I think that's pretty cool. Oh, it feels good. Feels real good. I made it to the Bahamas. Time to go and check in at customs. Cleared through customs here in the Bahamas. We're all set, we're good to go. Really friendly people, and it was a pretty smooth experience. That is Cat Key. That's where I checked in this morning. And just to the north of that, this is Gun Key here. And so I am just anchored on the outside. There were some swells, some rollers over there coming in towards that anchorage I was at on the outside, or the west side of Cat Key. And so it's just making it kind of uncomfortable. So I just cut right over between the two islands there. It gets really, really shallow. And so it's pretty well protected actually from any wakes coming in. And now I'm just on the inside of Grand Bahama Bank here. So my next trip will be about 66 miles that way towards the Berry Islands, heading east. But I might spend a day here at Gun Key checking things out. I'm gonna go in and explore that lighthouse. There's Wrangler out there. Got the dinghy pulled up into a little inlet.
come through.
On that rig right there, I caught this little lizard fish. Look at the teeth on that guy. Alright guys, so I'm traveling across the Grand Bahama Bank, and it should be somewhere around like 55 to 60 miles if you're going straight, but I've been tacking back and forth because it's so nice out here. You can see it's just, I mean, 1 foot, 2 foot waves, not even, light wind. I got both sails up, so I'm just sailing, kind of hanging out. It's really comfortable, and after that last sail crossing the Gulf Stream, this is quite rewarding. So I'm just hanging out, and it'll be a couple days until I get there, and I hope the weather stays the same. This is pretty easy. Out here in the Great Bahama Bank, it's getting wild out here. It's 2:30 in the morning, and I just hit mile 60. I've been going about 18 and a half hours now. Almost to Andros Island and Man of War Key. Just on the western side, about 5-6 miles out. It's getting kind of shallow, and the waves have calmed down. It got really nasty during the day. I didn't do any filming. Really heavy winds and about 4 or 5 foot waves. Just, it went from flat to really choppy, and now it's flat again. So I'm thinking about throwing the anchor and going to sleep, and then finishing the trip tomorrow up to Chub Key. So I don't know if I'll stay on Andros Island or if I'll go up to the Berry Islands quite right away. I just want to see what it looks like tomorrow. I can't see anything. It's just pitch dark out here. The stars look great, but it is so dark out here.